So any application map, when you are trying to designing, you can try to write like this. MVC, model view controller. MVC is a one design pattern. Using this design pattern, we can try to design the applications. Generally, Andy, we have to follow this architecture which we design the application. Okay. So here M model, V presentation logic, C controller. Let me try to explain, sir. Here, assume that this is what we can try to call as a model. So inside this model, business logic and persistent logic. Logic, then persistent logic. So combination of these two components I can try to call as a model. Otherwise, you can try to call model as a force the data. Anything is fine, sir. Different people will use differently, sir. Now here, now see controller. What is this? Controller. Controller, it acts as a integration layer. Controller takes the request coming from a view component, process the request. Okay. Controller takes the request coming from a client, takes controller takes the request coming from a client and process the request. So controller takes the request coming from a client and process the request. Controller takes the request coming from a client and process the request. Then view component. What is the use of view? Presentation logic. What is the view? Presentation logic. So I can say better view for end user. Better view for end user. So presentation logic always we can call as a better view for end user. Are you clear? What is MVC? Model view controller. So what it mean by controller? Controller takes the request coming from a client and process the request. Model a business logic and persistent logic. Now, view component. From the view component, interaction goes to controller. From the controller, your request will be processed to a model. So if you are inserting a data in the database layer, so this is called a DB layer, sir. It's called as DB layer. Is it clear, everyone? Like this. Are you understand? But here, view component never interact with the model component. Model will not interact directly with component. This is the generally MVC architecture principle. So to design the view component, what technology we can use, sir? Please. Can we use JSPs? Yes. Good. So controller, what is the technology we can use controller, guys? Please. We can try to use controller. Come on. Servlet. Why? Why servlet? Why not JSP? So using JSP, what will happen? Every request, one servlet will be generated. 100 times, if you are interacting, 100 servlets will be created. Every time a servlet will be created, then what will happen? Performance will be degraded. To improve the performance of the application, you can use controller. What about model? Model is the interface. What is the model? Model is the interface. Model is the what is the model? Model is the interface. Sorry, model. Model is a model having a capability to hold the data, and it represents like business operations and persistent logic. So these two operations I can try to maintain it using a model. Okay. So I can say here business logic, it means that you can try to write on Java, few Java classes, no issues. Then, so this is called DB, database layer. DB layer, we try to say DB layer. So, based on this approach, generally we can try to design the application server. So persistent logic, what we do generally, what type of logic we can write to store the data, into the database. To store the data into the database. Persistent logic, yes, we can try to write to store the data into the database. To store the data into the database. Got it, guys, everyone? Please. Business logic. So controller takes the request coming from a client and process the request. Model, business logic and persistent logic. So this is the way, yes, you can try to work it. Are you understand, please? Everyone, any application we're designing, let's try to work on this process. This is the architecture you can try to follow and design your web application development. Are there any, everyone, please?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Right. So the same simple application, sir, let's try to write in systematic manner. Look at now. Here in this process, okay, already I designed one application, so I'll try to use the same thing. Student web example, okay. Purely already we use it, right? Okay. Next, yesterday I take a look at here. Here also we're having connection manager and all those things. But just to understand in this context, instead of JSP, instead of writing instead of JSP, what we can do, sir? Please, can I write servlet? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that is the way you can try to design. Can you design this application, guys? Please, based on this architecture, can you design, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So simple, guys, and generally this is architecture we try to follow when you are designing these applications. Next. Is it clear, everyone? Still any questions, sir, please? Yes. Look at so I have a table. Table name is called course ID, course name, duration, course fee. Course ID, course name, course ID, course name, duration, and course fee. Course ID, course name, and duration, and course fee. Course ID, course name, and duration, and course fee. Course ID, course name, and duration, and course fee. Okay. Now, I have one more class and it's called student. Student number, student name, student address, student number, student address, email, like this. Okay. Now, I have two tables, sir. Then now I want to write the code like this. When I click a view courses, I want to see the courses to display. When I want to see the student information, yes, I can try to go for student information. Even user ID, name, and first name, last name, email. Okay, simple application friend. So two tables I have here. So assume that I want to retrieve the data, just a simple guy. If I click that, I want to get the data and I have to be displayed. That's it. So view now. Then what way you want to see display? Student number, student name, because I not explain relationship, right? Once I explain relationship, I'll give the I make a relationship. Student address, email, and course name, duration, course fee. I want to see to display the data like this on browser, sir. Can you do it, sir? Yes. ఏం చేస్తారు? For example, in the JSP page, you can specify one button or one anchor tag, view result, view records. Whatever maybe. If I click this one, let's try to go to servlet. From the servlet, I can try to fetch this data. You know that the DAO layer and all these things, right? Already JDBC level we did. DAO layer, DT, right? You can write like this and fetch this data. Can you do it, sir? Please, guys, can you do it? Friends, are you understanding what I'm trying to say you?
సార్ ఒక స్టూడెంట్ కి ఒక కోర్సే ఉంటుంది సార్.
నీ ఇష్టం అది నువ్వు డేటాబేస్ పెట్టిన దాన్ని బట్టి ఉంటుంది. ఒక స్టూడెంట్ ఒక టేబుల్ పెట్టుకోండి అక్కడ ప్రెసెంట్ ఉన్న దాంట్లో చిన్నదే కదా. కాంప్లికేట్ ఇవ్వలేదు నేను, చిన్నది ఇచ్చా అంతే. Look at now. Here you maintain like connection manager, DAO interface, and implementation class, and this is the way I want to see to design it. Are you clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Can you able to manage? Right?
Yes, sir.
See, even first example I shown you, right? DAO interface implementation like this. Okay. Go design that. This is a small assembly for you people. సింపుల్గా ఇస్తున్నానండి, ఎక్కడ కాంప్లికేట్ లేదు, ప్లీజ్ చేసేయండి అమ్మా. కాంప్లికేట్ పెరుగుద్ది నెక్స్ట్ వీక్. నెక్స్ట్. So guys, you know relationship? Guys, friends, are you know relationships? Anyone? Okay, let me explain. What does it mean by relationship? So here observe the friend. Here, course and student. I have a different tables, right? Now, I want to maintain the relationship between the two tables. See, if you want to maintain the relationship, first of all, you should understand what it means by constraints. Guys, please understand what it means by constraints. What are constraints? The rules in my constraints and validation like this. So I can say not null constraint and unique queue, unique. Next, primary key. Primary key. What about next? Not null, unique, primary key. What about next one? Default.
Foreign key. Foreign key.
Foreign key. Minimum. Is it clear? So if you are trying to, if you specify like this, constraints, not null, unique, primary key, default, check, foreign key. What is not null, guys, please? What it mean by not null? Not null by default, sir. If, let me explain one point. by default, every column is null. But wait, okay. By default, every column allow null value. Are you clear at this point? By default, every column allow null value. No doubt about it, ma'am. But if you want to restrict, but a column doesn't want to allow the null value, then you can use not null constraint. By default, every column allow null value. By default, every column allow null value. Not null. What is that? Not null. Using a not null constraint, using a not null constraint, it's not allow the null value, right? It's not allow the null value. It's not allow the null value. Are you clear? Not null. It's not allow the null value. It's not allow the null value. Right. It's not allow the null value. But it's allow the duplicate value, sir. Not null constraint. If you're using a before the column, it not allow the null value, but it allows duplicate values. But I don't want to see to allow the duplicate, sir. The unique constraint. It's not. It's not allow null value. It don't allow the duplicate values, but it allow null value. Are you clear? What about primary key? What about primary key, guys? It's allow. What is the? It's not. What is the primary key? Please, anyone?
Not null
What
and
is
unique
the?
constraints.
Yes. Primary key. It does not. It's not allow. It's not allow null and duplicate value. It's not allow the null and duplicate value. So every table at least should have one primary key. Every table at least it should have one primary key. Every table it should have at least one table. Got it? Default. What is the default? What is the default? Guys, what is the default?
Assigning some default value to a column.
Right. Default, it means that, for example, we are working on an organization, madam. Same organization. So same organization means that not required to specify every time study like this. Just you can try to specify common. What is that? Common. Yes or no? Common name you can try to specify. Suchi IT. Yes, common name you can try to specify. Common employee name. Common company name you can try to specify. You can use default constraint. What about check constraint? Condition. Check it mean that, ma'am? Condition. For example, who are greater than 21 years? The people who are having above 21 years or greater than 21 years, we can the person can go for marriage. Vote like this. Condition. If you are working any specific conditions, the a column, you can use check constraint. Foreign key. What is the foreign key? To make a relation between two classes, to make a relation between two classes, we can use foreign key. Are you clear, everyone? So these are the constraints, a simple one, sir. I mentioned very simple direct points.